Welcome to Pathways with Penny. My name is Penny, and excuse me, I am your guide on this wonderful journey as we explore complementary and alternative modalities for healing ourselves, for improving our health and well-being in so many ways. As you are undoubtedly aware, over the last 75 to 100 years, a lot of information has come from other cultures to this country that have actually opened up the way in which we look at our bodies, the way that we look at our relationships, body, mind, and spirit. And with a background of over nearly 45 years in the Western medical model, where I was a nurse, and over 25 years working with complementary and alternative modalities, I believe I have a unique ability to bridge those two seemingly very different approaches to our healing. Today, I have as a guest on our show, Liza, a face reader. Some of you may recognize her as Elizabeth Webb, who has another show on this station called Your Personal Lifestyle Yoga Coach. So welcome, Liza.
Thank you. Thank you, Penny. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, thank you. I feel the same. Yes. So tell us a little bit about your background, Liza. How did you get involved in, well, you actually have a background in quite a number of what would be called the non-ordinary approaches to life and healing.
Yes. Oh, thank you for asking. Yeah, so I got involved in the whole holistic way of being in 1990. So I guess I contribute that to, I met my husband-to-be, and he was into alternatives. You know, he worked out a lot, and I was working out a lot then too. And so we met, got married, and ever since then it's been a journey of, well, I guess he introduced me to the world of yoga. And then I just realized that was something I absolutely loved. It was so amazing to get to know myself through the form of using yoga as a tool of self-awareness. And so he taught me a little bit, and then, you know, I found a yoga teacher and went through her training program. And then throughout the years, I did other trainings. And if you watch my second episode, I go through 12 different styles of yoga that I'm familiar with. One of them, laughter yoga. That's so important. And Hatha yoga is my foundation. And then went through a yoga therapy program, a 2-year yoga therapy program, hence the name of my show, Your Yoga Lifestyle Coach. So that was birthed about 4 years ago. And wow, I think I'm almost on my 40th episode.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah, and thank you for inviting me as your face reader for
now,
today.
Tell me, how did you become interested in face reading, and how is that different from what we might think about when people are say, well, you know, if you turn your eyes up here, then that means you're thinking, making up something, and if they're over there, then that means you're remembering something. Is this different from that?
It's different from that, and it's even different from the face reading as far as, you know, if somebody's making a face at you and what does that mean?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's different from that because I, first of all, want to introduce to you how I got interested in this. So it was 1992, and we showed up at a bookstore, and there was a gentleman there selling his book, and of course, giving free face readings, because his book was, the Amazing Face. So he suggested that my husband and I sit down together, and he read both of us at the same time. And so it's related to our personality. So he was able to say, okay, now your wife is like this, so honor and respect her when she's thinking this way. And then your husband, is going to be completely opposite than how you see things. That was so important for newlyweds to
Yes,
sit
that would be
down. It was
very
like
helpful.
a counseling session. And wow. So I was hooked. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, how do I learn more of this?
Yes.
And it was maybe 2 years later, and all of a sudden, you know how you stumble across something, and it's the same man giving a workshop. So I could learn how to become a face reader.
Yes.
I signed up. And oh, wow. The learning was very extensive, and I learned so much. So basically, we all do face reading on one level or another. You meet someone for the first time and you get this first impression.
Yes, yes.
That's kind of what we're getting from just their face. And, you can do this on an infant, because what we look at is we're looking at the bone structure. We're looking at the placement of where the ears are. We're looking at the size of the nostrils, the cartilage.
Yes.
So we're looking at the forehead, another bony structure.
Right.
And then, we can also get into looking at the lines. And what do the lines mean? And I like to equate that to, we can do
Yes.
palm reading.
Yes.
And we're reading typically the lines on the palm.
Right.
The lines on the face tell us things. And we earn our lines by the way we're thinking.
Yes.
Yeah. Ooh, that was cute. You laughed. You did your little laugh. And so you must like to tease people a little bit?
I do.
Yeah, so your little tease lines
Is that?
showed
No
up.
kidding.
Yeah, right here when you
Really?
do that little, so that shows up as, apparently you like to tease people. Yeah, but if you don't mind, can we jump right in? Can I give you a face reading?
Yes, yes, please
Yes,
do.
yes.
Please do. Only the good parts. No, I'm
Okay.
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, so the first thing that we all look at when we look at someone is the eyes.
Yes.
So I like to begin with the eyes. And I'm a teacher at heart, so I'm going to teach you how to become a face reader.
Okay.
All right. So we look at the corner of the eye in the center to the corner of the eye on the outer. And we draw a straight line. So if we draw a straight line from yours, oh, now interesting. Have you ever noticed that your eyes are a little different, one from the other?
I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what we also do is we divide the face in half.
Okay.
And then we look at the right side of the face, means how we relate to our relationships.
Okay.
Right for relationships. That's how I remember
Okay.
it. R for R.
Okay.
So relationships meaning like our business career, like relationships outside the home.
Outside. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the left, and I think of L for love. So then the left side of the face is how we relate to love for ourselves. Or maybe it's love for like those intimate relationships that we have inside the home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so interesting. So as we divide the face in half, so we're still looking at the eyes,
Okay.
and we've drawn a line straight across, and then I noticed, oh, you're so right.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. That's the relationships like in your business.
Right.
Compared to the relationship with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So your left eye is straight across whereas your right eye is a little bit more up. So first of all, let's understand typically the three different ways of the eyes.
Okay.
And straight across is neutral. If the outer is a little higher than the inner, and if you look at my eyes, the outer is a little higher
Yes.
than the inner. And
More
one of my
noticeably
eyes.
on the right.
Yeah.
Noticeably on the right. Yes, indeed. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then if it's, so up means optimistic. If it's down, you draw the line and it would be down, then that could be pessimistic. So optimistic, you know, we see the positive, you know, we see the potential. Now, pessimistic might be somebody that's very compassionate, because then they can see, oh, what's going on? You know, they might be very, it's not maybe that they're pessimistic, but maybe they're very compassionate, because they can see the possibility of what might be wrong. Yeah. Okay. So now, look at both of us. And we both have the
upper
yeah,
on the right.
yeah,
It goes up.
yeah, it goes a little bit more up on the right. So then that means that we, because of our profession, we are there for others more so than we'll be there for ourselves.
Bingo.
So we love to help other people.
Yes.
And it shows in our eyes.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. So we're more up when it comes to relationships outside of the home.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So, you know, I'm thinking, okay, you know, that's a true thing for me. I'm starting to get better with that. But I would think that if that was something that, say I'd had this reading done when I was little, that might have been information that my parents could have used to help me get more of a balance, say.
Yes.
In, you know, being focused outside and focus some inner, do more inner work.
Yeah.
And because you can, as you know, you can get worn out focusing everything outside, not taking care of yourself.
Right.
So, okay.
So if we want our eyes to come back into balance, then we can take more time for ourselves.
Okay.
And we know how to do that.
Right.
Because we preach it to others.
Yeah. Well, it's easier. Yes, as I said, I'm getting better.
Me too. Yeah. So when I am alone, I am taking more time, you know,
Yes.
to be present with just being,
Yes.
compared to
Yes.
always having to, you know, clean the house or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
okay.
that's the eyes, and then we can look at the forehead. So as we're looking at each other, I don't know if you can see our foreheads.
Yeah, I can see
And,
yours.
yeah, so take a look at the slant of the forehead, and notice how my forehead slants back. Now for me to see your forehead, can you look that way? Oh, so we have the same forehead.
Okay.
And so ours both slants back. So that means it's easy for us to remember things. And if you see someone that has like the bulbous forehead,
Yes.
that means they're very creative. If their forehead just would go like kind of straight up, then they want to understand. They want to have more of a step-by-step approach to understanding things. So that's what the forehead says to us. Let's look at the ears.
Okay.
So you and I have the same type of ear, where from the, if you draw a line from the bottom to the top, it's a slant. The ear is slanted backwards. Penny, you and I, we both have a unique slant on life.
I love it. I love it. I'm not weird. I'm unique.
You're unique. Yes. So if you find someone that drawing that straight line. Their ear would be straight up and down. Instead of them being entrepreneurs, you might find them, you know, with the 40 hour, they might have an 80-hour day, a week job.
Okay.
But they would typically want to be plugged into, let me just, you know, be told what to do and let me do my job.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
A 9 to 5, 40-hour week, whatever, something on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now let's talk about learning.
Okay.
So now when we look at someone and how do they learn? Now look at me. I've got these big eyes in relationship to my head.
Right, yeah.
My ears are not smaller than my eyes, but in relationship to the head, the ears seem smaller than the eyes
Yes, I
in
hear what you're
proportion
saying.
to
Yes,
the
yes.
face. So if you want to teach me something, make sure I'm looking at it. It's because these big eyes want to see.
A visual learner.
Yeah. So let's get together and talk. Don't call me on the phone if you want to teach me something,
Yes.
because I also need to see it, you know.
Yes.
So now looking at you, your eyes and your ears are like the same proportion in a sense. So I'm going to assume, because this is of course all tendencies, you know,
Yes,
with the
yes.
face reading. So I'm going to ask, when you want to learn something, do you like to see and hear?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you know, that's really quite interesting because when I was in school, in order to be able to concentrate, I had to sit like in the front row. Even the second row was too far back, and I wrote down everything the teacher said. I mean, practically verbatim, drew all the pictures that were drawn on the blackboard, because if I just listened to it, I couldn't understand a thing. I had to go back and study those notes, and if I could see it, then it could come together for me, and then I'd be able to remember it. But one or the other just doesn't work for me. So, even
Yeah.
today. So that's why listening to books or listening to educational CDs doesn't really work that well for me.
Yeah, see, and you know this about yourself. And like a young child, an infant, you know,
Yes.
we look at the infant and we say, look at those beady, teeny, tiny little eyes, even though they're open all the way.
Right.
And look at those big ears.
Yeah.
So they might be a musician that can play by music, because they'll
Oh.
just need to hear it and they've got it.
And they've got
And they don't have
it.
to see it. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm married to a man that has the big ears and the beady little eyes. And yes, he's a composer. And we'll have conversations. And I want to have a conversation like this.
Yes.
Where we're looking at each other.
Yes.
And he might be busying himself with something as we're communicating, because he's listening. And he doesn't need to look at me
Yes.
to get it. You know,
Of
and I'll say to
course.
him, hey, you know, come on, look at me. And he'll say, honey, I'm right here. I can hear you. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes,
He
yes.
just needs, so now I honor and I respect that. You know, that he can hear me, but now if he's wanting me to understand what he's doing, I need to see it. Yeah.
Yes.
So see, that's what we learned about each other right up front with our first face reading session.
How helpful.
Oh, that saved our
Yes.
marriage. 30 years of marriage now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're still happy. Because we understand. So then when we look at others, so next time you look at someone and you're wanting to have them understand something that you're expressing to them, take a second, and see that they've got really big eyes and smaller ears like mine. So show them something as
Yes.
you're, you know,
Yes.
trying to get them to understand. So that's a wonderful way to use face reading to
Yes.
know how they're going to receive.
That is
Okay.
amazing.
Now let's look at the size of the nostrils.
Okay.
All right, so you and I have like the same size of nostrils in a sense. Now you might see someone with the little slits of a nostril.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I look at it, whether the nostril is really small or if it's really big.
Okay.
And so I'm going to just put ours in the classification of big.
Okay.
So we're able to receive the compliments. We're able to receive the income that comes our way. We're able to receive what comes our way. And if you see the people with the tiny little slits, you know, they're the ones that, oh, I don't have enough money. Oh, I don't have enough of whatever. They don't
Yes.
like what they're doing. It's uncomfortable for them to receive a compliment because it's hard for them to
Allow.
accept.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. And then cheekbones. Oh, your cheekbones are like mine. So nice and high cheekbones. Get attention first. So you walk in the room with someone that doesn't have high cheekbones, and we are probably going to get the attention of whoever is greeting us before the other person that we're with that might not have high cheekbones.
Really?
And that's
Oh,
something we do
interesting.
unknowingly to ourselves. You know, cheekbones get people's attention right away. Oh, and let's move on to eyebrows.
Okay.
Eyebrows get attention right away. And notice my eyebrows go up a little bit, and then they come down.
Right.
They go up and come down.
Yes.
So that means that I like to be mentally in control. And then others look at us and see, oh, if you like to be mentally in control, maybe, are you in charge? I'll be shopping at a store and someone comes up to me and they think I work there because I look like I'm in control. Now your eyebrows are kind of like almost straight across, and they have that little bit of
Yes.
that little bend in them. So you probably get that. Do you?
Well, people pretty much, you know, if there's a group project or something, it kind of seems like, well, I always end up being kind of the leader of it.
Yeah, see?
And
'Cause
or
people
folks
look
look
to
to
you.
me for answers for things.
It's the eyebrows.
It is. Oh, my goodness sakes.
Yeah. Now let's move on to the lines. So real quickly, you and I both have really scant little lines going across the nose, back and
Right.
forth.
Yes.
The camera probably can't pick that up. But that lines are called overly responsible. So
Bingo.
you and I could kind of like stop caring so much for
Yes.
other people. Because sometimes we do it too much where we become overly responsible. So we could, and if we draw back and stop being overly responsible, these lines can start to go away. So we can change all the lines on our face because
Okay.
these lines are, we think too much, or I like to call them genius lines, because if we think too much, we're probably a genius of what we know. Yeah, oh, and you've got the beautiful sunshine lines when you smile. Yep.
And that means,
That means that you have a beautiful spirit, and that shows on your your
nice.
face.
let me do that more.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a little sample of
Oh,
face
my
reading.
goodness, my goodness.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend to parents, say, about having face readings done for their children?
Now, this type of a face reading would be so beneficial for parents to know. They would know how to communicate then to their children. They would understand how their children need to learn. And
Okay.
they'd understand, you know, are they creative? Do they retain information easily? Do they want to be told what to do? And, you know, are they optimistic? Are they pessimistic? Do they take a neutral approach to subjects? Are
Okay.
they, do they get attention drawn to themselves? Yeah, I think that would be very helpful for parents then they would understand their children, and
Yes.
they'd know how to approach them so that the communication is solid, it's there. There's
Yes.
the connection.
Right, right. That
Yeah.
would be excellent. And it sounds like you would recommend the face reading for young couples.
Oh, of course. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
Whew.
And how would you suggest that someone like myself, I'm a single woman, mostly retired, although I do still do a few things like this in my practice, but what would you recommend for me?
Regarding face reading, what I would recommend is a session with me that would give you the opportunity to stop being overly responsible.
Yes.
And then, you'd learn, you'd pick up more traits. And I know you're very self-aware about yourself. And this could give you a little bit more insight to
Yes.
some of the traits that you might be doing that you're unaware of.
Yes, that's the thing I think that would be most interesting, because by picking out that, the overly responsible part, that is something I am seriously working on right now. When I tend to become, I would say, maybe overly involved in other people's life and issues, because I have such a strong feeling that I might be able to help them. And so this seems to be a lifetime of the way I focus. And what I'm catching myself already like halfway down that road without realizing it, even though I think I'm trying to not be. So I think you're absolutely right. That would be a really terrific way to give maybe some hints on how to stop myself before I get started.
Yeah, and that's something that could be beneficial within a session for me, because then I kind of tap into, the intuition and seeing, what can be beneficial
Right.
for you to, see that part of you in a different way. And of course, we get that stirring within ourselves. And
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah.
And I need to get over thinking that I can rewrite everyone's life script.
Yeah, and I think we do that when it's hard for us to look at ourselves, because it's so much, Penny, we know it's so much easier to look
yes.
and see
Outside.
others.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
because, we're trained in that.
Yes,
Our
that is-
training,
yes.
We were taught how to,
Yes.
see others.
Especially as a nurse. That was something, you're never to think about yourself in any of those situations. You just, doesn't matter what it is, you suck it up and move on. And yeah. You don't get emotionally attached to others. You follow the plans.
Yeah.
You know what the person needs to do. So that probably fit right into an original tendency, and really molded me that way.
Right.
So
Yeah, and I was molded that same way within yoga therapy.
sure.
This is what you look for in your clients, and then, these are the protocols to help.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, we can take some of that training and apply it to ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then some of these lines, will start to recede.
Okay. I'm all for that.
Yeah. So those are
Wow.
some of the things that could benefit from, having a session, a
Okay.
face reading session.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Liza. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. And I say thank you also to the audience for joining us today. And I hope that you will enjoy this episode and possibly take advantage of getting a face reading from Liza, the face reader. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So.